Captain Hyunwoo Kim stood on the bridge of the Terran Federation battleship Indomitable. The massive ship moved through the black emptiness of space like a metal mountain. Its hull stretched for 3 kilometers and carried 12,000 crew members. This was the edge of human space where unknown dangers waited in the dark. Hyunwoo had been captain for 8 years. He knew every sound the ship made, every vibration that meant something was wrong. Today felt different. His gut told him trouble was coming, even though the sensors showed nothing unusual. "Captain," called communications officer Jin-A Choi from her station. "Long-range sensors are picking up something strange. Multiple contacts approaching from the outer system." Hyunwoo walked over to the sensor display. Chief Engineer So-Young Park was already there, her fingers dancing over the controls. She was the best engineer in the fleet, and she could make the Indomitable do things that should have been impossible. "What do you see, So-Young?" Hyunwoo asked. 15 ships, maybe 20. They're not using any technology I recognize. The energy signatures are completely alien." So-Young's voice was calm, but Hyunwoo could hear the worry underneath. Tactical Officer Dongmin Lee looked up from his weapons console.
"Captain, those ships are moving in a pattern."
"It looks like they're trying to surround us." Hyunwoo felt his heart beat faster. First contact with an alien race was something every captain dreamed about and feared. The dreams were about peaceful meetings and new friends among the stars. The fears were about what might happen if those aliens were not friendly. "Red alert," Hyunwoo ordered. "All hands to battle stations. Raise shields and charge weapons, but do not fire unless I give the order." The bridge lights dimmed to red. Throughout the ship, 12,000 people ran to their positions. The Indomitable had been built for war, but it had never faced an enemy like this. On the main screen, the alien ships became visible. They were unlike anything humans had ever built. The ships looked almost alive, with smooth curves that seemed to flow like water. They were dark purple and black, with veins of bright blue light running along their hulls. Some were small and fast, while others were huge and menacing. "My God," whispered Navigation Officer Heiran Song. "They're beautiful and terrifying at the same time." Security Chief Jae-hyun Oh stepped onto the bridge. He was a big man with scars on his hands from years of fighting. "Captain, security teams are in position throughout the ship. If these aliens want to fight, we're ready." Hyunwoo nodded, but he hoped it would not come to violence. "Jin-A, try to open a communication channel. Let's see if we can talk to them." Jin-A worked at her console for several minutes. "I'm trying every frequency we know, but they're not responding to any of our signals." Chief Medical Officer Woo Jin-han arrived on the bridge. He was older than the others, with gray hair and kind eyes that had seen too much suffering. "Captain, I've been thinking about this situation. If these are truly alien beings, we need to be careful about biological contamination. We don't know what diseases they might carry, or what our germs might do to them." "Good point, Doctor. Make sure all security teams have full environmental suits if we have to board their ships or if they board ours." The alien ships moved closer. Their formation was perfect, like they were thinking with one mind. The largest ship was in the center, easily twice the size of the Indomitable. Smaller ships spread out around them in a web pattern. "Captain," Dongmin called out, "I'm reading massive power buildups in their weapons systems. They're preparing to attack." Hyunwoo clenched his fists. He had hoped for peaceful contact, but it looked like these aliens had other plans. "All weapons prepare to fire, but wait for my command." Suddenly, the alien ships stopped moving. They hung in space around the Indomitable like predators watching their prey. The silence was worse than any alarm. So-Young looked at her readings with confusion. "Captain, they're not charging weapons anymore. They're doing something else, some kind of scanning beam." "What kind of scan?" Hyunwoo asked. "I don't know. It's not like anything in our databases. The energy pattern is completely unknown." On the largest alien ship, Overseer Kithvar watched the human vessel with interest. His species, the Velthari, had been traveling the galaxy for thousands of years. They had encountered hundreds of different alien races. All of them had been weak. All of them had been easy to capture and study. The Velthari saw other species as nothing more than test subjects. They would disable a ship, take the crew for experiments, and study their technology. It was how they had built their empire across the stars. Kithavar's pale blue skin glowed with excitement. These humans looked promising. Their ship was large and well-armed, which meant their technology might be interesting. Their biological readings showed they were a young species, which meant they would be easy to control. "Begin the neural probe," Kithvar ordered his crew. "Disable their minds and prepare for boarding." The Velthari had used this technique on countless species. The neural probe would scan the brains of every creature on the target ship. It would map their thoughts, download their memories, and leave them helpless. Most species simply fell unconscious. The few that stayed awake became mindless slaves. On the Indomitable, strange lights began to appear around the ship. They were beautiful but deadly, like colored lightning dancing in the vacuum of space. "Captain," Jin'e said, her voice shaking, "something's happening to our systems. The aliens are sending some kind of signal directly into our computers." So Young's fingers flew over her controls. "It's not just the computers. This signal is trying to access our neural networks too. It's scanning our brains." Hyunwoo felt a strange tingling in his head. Around the bridge, other crew members were holding their heads and looking confused. "Dr. Han, what's happening to us?" Hyunwoo asked. Woo Jin was scanning the crew with his medical equipment. "Captain, this alien signal is affecting our nervous systems. It's trying to map our brain patterns. Ganda, can you stop it?" "I'm trying, but I've never seen anything like this. It's as if they're trying to read our minds." The tingling in Hyunwoo's head grew stronger. He could feel something alien touching his thoughts, trying to push inside his mind. But instead of fear, he felt anger. These aliens had come to human space without permission. They had threatened his ship and his crew. Now they were trying to invade his very thoughts. "Like hell they are," Hyunwoo growled. Around the bridge, the crew was starting to react strangely. Jin'e was muttering numbers under her breath. Dongmin was staring at his weapons console with intense focus. So Young was typing faster than humanly possible. The neural probe was supposed to make them helpless. Instead, it seemed to be making them more alert, more focused, more angry. On the alien ship, Kithvar frowned at his readings. The human minds were not responding as expected. Instead of shutting down, their brain activity was increasing. Instead of becoming docile, they seemed to be fighting back. "Increase power to the neural probe," he ordered. "These humans are more resistant than expected." But Kithvar did not understand what he was dealing with. Humans were not like other species. They had evolved on a dangerous world, fighting for survival every day. Their minds were not weak things that could be easily controlled. They were weapons forged by millions of years of struggle. The aliens were about to learn that probing a human mind was like poking a sleeping tiger. And this tiger had very big teeth. As the alien probe grew stronger, the crew of the Indomitable began to change in ways that would shake the galaxy to its core. The alien probe hit the Indomitable like invisible lightning. Throughout the ship, 12,000 humans suddenly felt something cold and foreign trying to crawl inside their minds. For most species in the galaxy, this would have been the end. The Velthari neural probe was designed to be perfect, unstoppable. On the bridge, Communications Officer Jin'e Choi suddenly screamed and fell from her chair. But instead of lying still like the probe victims of other races, she began speaking in rapid, precise numbers. 7.43 degrees starboard. Elevation 2.15, distance 4,712 kilometers, she said in a mechanical voice. Her eyes rolled back and glowing faintly blue. Captain Hyunwoo Kim knelt beside her, trying to understand what was happening. "Dr. Han, get up here now." Chief Medical Officer Woo Jin Han was already running toward the bridge, his medical scanner in hand. As he ran through the corridors, he saw crew members behaving strangely everywhere. Some were talking to the walls. Others were moving their hands like they were typing on invisible keyboards. A few were standing perfectly still with their eyes closed. But their faces showed intense concentration instead of the blank emptiness the aliens expected. On the alien command ship, Overseer Kithvar watched his screens with growing confusion. The neural probe readings made no sense. Instead of the usual patterns showing mental shutdown and control, the human brain activity was spiking higher and higher. "Probe leader Vexon," he called to his second in command. "Explain these readings." Vexon was an expert in neural control. She had personally overseen the conquest of 47 different species. Her pale blue fingers danced over alien controls as she tried to understand what was happening. "Overseer, the human minds are not responding correctly. The probe should be suppressing their higher brain functions, but instead it appears to be enhancing them. Their neural activity is increasing by 300%. "That's impossible," Kithvar hissed. "No species can resist the probe. Increase the power." Back on the Indomitable, Dr. Han reached the bridge and immediately began scanning Jin'e. What he found made his blood run cold. "Captain, her brain activity is off the charts. The alien signal isn't shutting down her mind, it's supercharging it. She's processing information at a rate that should be impossible for human neurons. As if responding to his words, Jine suddenly sat up straight. Her eyes were still glowing with that strange blue light, but now she was looking directly at the main screen showing the alien ships. "Target acquisition complete," she said in that same mechanical voice. "Alien vessel classifications identified. 12 destroyer class, 6 cruiser class, 2 dreadnought class. Weapon signatures analyzed. Weak points located." Tactical Officer Dongmin Lee stared at his instruments in shock. "Captain, she's right. My computers are confirming everything she just said, but there's no way she could have that information. Our sensors weren't even focused on weapons analysis." Chief Engineer So Young Park was at her station, but something was wrong with her too. Her hands were moving over the controls faster than human reflexes should allow. Lights and displays that had been dark for years were suddenly active. "So Young, what are you doing?" Captain Kim asked. "I can see it," she said without looking up. "I can see all of it. Every circuit, every power conduit, every quantum processor. The ship is talking to me." Her fingers continued their impossible dance across the controls. Deep in the engine room, machines that had never worked together began to synchronize. Power flowed through pathways that the original designers had never intended. "Captain," she continued, "I'm interfacing directly with the ship's systems. I don't know how, but I can feel every part of the Indomitable, and more than that, I can feel their ship too." Security Chief Jae-hyun. Oh arrived on the bridge and he looked different. His usually calm demeanor was replaced by something fierce and predatory. His eyes had the same blue glow as the others. "Captain, I can sense them. The aliens. I can feel their intentions, their emotions. They're not just scanning us, they're trying to turn us into slaves. They've done this before to thousands of other species." The alien probe was having an effect the Velthari had never seen. Instead of suppressing human consciousness, it was connecting human minds to their technology and to each other. Humans had evolved differently than other species, where most aliens developed either advanced technology or psychic abilities. Humans had developed both. They just hadn't known how to access their psychic potential until now. Navigation Officer Heirin Song was standing at her station with her eyes closed, but her hands were moving over the controls with perfect precision. "I can see the whole system," she said dreamily. "Every planet, every asteroid, every gravity well. The math is so clear now. I could calculate a jump to anywhere in the galaxy." On the alien ship, probe leader Vexon was becoming desperate. She had increased the probe power to levels that should have killed any biological creature, but the humans were getting stronger, not weaker. "Overseer, we should withdraw," she said nervously. "These humans are not reacting as any species should. Something is very wrong." But Kithvar was fascinated by what he was seeing. In thousands of years of conquest, the Velthari had never encountered anything like this. Instead of breaking under the neural probe, the humans seemed to be evolving in real time. "Continue the probe," he ordered. "I want to understand what makes these creatures so different." It was the worst decision he would ever make. Back on the Indomitable, Captain Kim was beginning to feel the effects himself. The alien probe was trying to map his mind, but instead of overwhelming him, it was showing him things he had never imagined. He could sense his crew throughout the ship, feel their thoughts and emotions. More importantly, he could feel the alien minds that were probing them. The Velthari thought they were predators studying their prey, but what they had actually done was give an apex predator species access to their own technology and awakened abilities that humanity had never known they possessed. Dr. Han was scanning crew members throughout the bridge when he made a terrifying discovery. "Captain, the probe isn't just affecting our minds. It's rewriting our neural pathways, creating new connections between brain cells. We're becoming something more than human." "Is it dangerous?" Kim asked. "I don't know. But I can tell you that every person on this ship is now operating at mental levels that should be impossible. We're thinking faster, processing more information, and somehow connecting with the ship's computer systems through pure thought." As if to prove his point, Jin-A suddenly stood up and walked to the weapons console. She placed her hands on the controls and immediately, every weapon system on the ship came online with perfect efficiency. "Weapons ready, Captain," she said. Though she had never been trained in tactical operations, "I can see their weak points. Their shields have a rotation frequency that creates gaps every 3.7 seconds. Our quantum torpedoes can penetrate if fired at exactly the right moment. Dongmin checked his instruments and found that she was absolutely correct. Somehow the communications officer had become a weapons expert in a matter of minutes. Throughout the ship, similar transformations were happening. Engineers were understanding alien technology by instinct. Security officers were developing enhanced reflexes and situational awareness. Medical staff were diagnosing problems they had never seen before. The Velthari neural probe, designed to create slaves, had instead created something unprecedented. A human crew with enhanced abilities and direct access to both their own technology and their enemies' weaknesses. Captain Kim felt the change happening to himself as well. His mind was expanding, connecting not just to his crew but to the ship itself. He could feel the indomitable like it was part of his own body. Every weapon, every shield generator, every life support system was under his direct control. But more than that, he was beginning to understand the aliens who had attacked them. Through the probe connection, he could sense their thoughts, their intentions, their history. What he found filled him with a cold rage that spread to every human on the ship. The Velthari were not just attackers. They were slavers and genocidal murderers who had been destroying civilizations for millennia. They had wiped out entire species for the sake of their twisted experiments. As this knowledge spread through the connected minds of the crew, 12,000 humans came to the same conclusion at exactly the same moment. These aliens had made a terrible mistake. The probe that was supposed to make them helpless had instead turned them into something the galaxy had never seen before. And now it was time to show the Velthari what happened when you gave humans access to alien technology and the motivation to use it. The real battle was about to begin. The transformation was spreading through the Indomitable like wildfire. In the engine room, Chief Engineer So-Young Park stood before the main reactor with her hands pressed against the control panel. Her eyes glowed with that strange blue light as she interfaced directly with the ship's systems through pure thought. "I can feel everything," she whispered to her engineering crew. "Every circuit, every power flow, every quantum fluctuation. The ship is alive and I can hear its heartbeat." Around her, other engineers were experiencing similar awakenings. Junior engineer Taemin Kang suddenly understood fusion reactions at a level that had taken him years to study in school. Reactor specialist Mijung Yu could see radiation patterns with her naked eyes. The alien probe meant to enslave them had instead unlocked human potential that had been dormant for millennia. Throughout the ship, Security Chief Jae-hyun-oh was coordinating with his teams through the strange mental connection that had formed between all crew members. He no longer needed communicators or status reports. He could feel the location and condition of every security officer on the ship. In Section 7, Security Officer Sang-ho Kim was experiencing something impossible. He could sense movement through the ship's hull, feeling the vibrations of every footstep, every heartbeat. His reflexes had become so fast that he could catch objects falling in low gravity before they had moved more than a few centimeters. "Chief," he said through their mental link, "I think I could fight 10 people at once and win." "Don't get overconfident," Jae-hyun replied, though he was feeling the same enhancements. "But yes, we're all becoming something more than we were." On the bridge, Captain Hyunwoo Kim was learning to control his new abilities. The mental connection to his crew was overwhelming at first, like hearing 12,000 voices speaking at once. But gradually, he learned to focus on individual minds or groups as needed. "Dr. Han," he said aloud, though he could have communicated through thought alone. "What's happening to us? Are we still human?" Woo Jin Han was studying readouts from medical sensors throughout the ship. What he found was incredible and terrifying at the same time. "Captain, we're still human, but we're evolving rapidly. The alien probe appears to have activated dormant sections of our DNA. Regions that we always thought were junk genetic code are suddenly active and creating new neural pathways." He paused, looking at his scanner in amazement. "Sir, our brain activity has increased by 400%. But somehow our skulls aren't overheating or suffering damage. Our bodies are adapting in real time to support our enhanced mental capabilities." Navigation Officer Hae-rin Song was at her station, her hands dancing over controls she had never been trained to use. But now she understood hyperspace mathematics at an instinctive level. She could plot courses through dimensions that human science had only theorized about. "Captain," she said, "I can see things. Not just this star system, but others. I can feel the gravitational patterns of stars dozens of light years away. And I can see their ships, all of them, not just the ones here." "What do you mean?" Kim asked. "The aliens have a whole fleet. Hundreds of ships spread across this sector of space. They're not just explorers or warriors. They're running some kind of massive operation. Prison ships, research facilities, slave colonies. Captain, they've been doing this for centuries. The mental connection between crew members was allowing them to share knowledge and abilities instantly. Communications officer Jin A. Choi, still glowing with that blue light, had become a living computer capable of processing vast amounts of data. Captain, I'm intercepting their communications now. I can understand their language, not just the words but the thoughts behind them. They call themselves the Velthari Collective. They see all other species as inferior subjects for experimentation. She paused and anger flashed across her face. Sir, they've destroyed 47 different civilizations. Complete genocides. They take a few specimens for study and exterminate the rest. On the alien command ship, Overseer Kithvar was beginning to panic. The neural probe readings showed that the human enhancement was accelerating beyond all predictions. Worse, he was starting to lose control of the probe itself. Probe leader Vexon, shut down the neural link immediately, he ordered. Vexon's hands moved frantically over her controls. I'm trying, Overseer, but the humans are somehow maintaining the connection on their end. They're using our own probe technology to scan us, it was true. The enhanced humans had figured out how to reverse the flow of the neural probe. Instead of being scanned, they were now scanning the aliens. Tactical Officer Dongmin Lee was experiencing this firsthand. Through the probe connection, he could see the alien ship layouts, their weapon systems, their defenses, but more than that, he could see their memories. Captain, he said grimly, I'm seeing what they've done. The species they've destroyed. Entire worlds turned into research labs. Billions of innocent beings tortured for their experiments. The knowledge was flowing to every human on the ship. They could see through alien eyes the destruction of peaceful civilizations. They watched memories of children being taken from their families for experimentation. They witnessed the cold, calculating way the Velthari had turned genocide into a science. Chief Engineer So-Young Park suddenly straightened up from her control panel. Her connection to the ship's systems had become so complete that she was essentially one with the indomitable. Captain, I can do things with this ship that the designers never imagined. The reactor can be overcharged to produce 3 times normal power output. The weapons can be modified to fire at frequencies that will penetrate their shields. And sir, I think I can turn our shields into weapons. What do you mean? Kim asked. The aliens use energy-based attacks. I can reverse our shield polarity and turn them into massive energy disruptors. Instead of protecting us, our shields will destroy anything that gets too close. Throughout the ship, similar discoveries were being made. Medical Officer Wu Jin Han found that he could diagnose alien physiology just by looking at their energy signatures. Security teams discovered they could predict enemy movements by sensing electromagnetic patterns. Engineers learned to rebuild technology they had never seen before. But the most important discovery came from the mental connection itself. The 12,000 humans on the Indomitable were becoming a collective consciousness while still maintaining their individual personalities. They could share knowledge, coordinate actions, and think as one mind when necessary. Captain Kim stood up from his chair and walked to the center of the bridge. He could feel his crew throughout the ship, not just their locations, but their thoughts, their emotions, their determination. Crew of the Indomitable, he said, knowing that everyone on the ship could hear him through their mental link. We now know what we're facing. The Velthari Collective has spent centuries destroying civilizations and conducting genocidal experiments. They came here thinking we would be easy victims. He paused, feeling the collective anger of 12,000 enhanced humans. They were wrong. They didn't capture us, they gave us the tools to stop them. They didn't make us their slaves, they turned us into their worst nightmare. We are no longer just the crew of one ship. We are humanity evolved, and we will not allow their crimes to continue. The response from his crew was immediate and overwhelming. Through the mental link, he felt their agreement, their determination, their readiness for battle. But it was more than that. He felt their shared commitment to something greater than revenge. The aliens had shown them the scope of their crimes across the galaxy. Now the humans felt a responsibility to every species that had suffered under Velthari oppression. On the alien ship, Overseer Kithvar was receiving reports that filled him with dread. His probe specialists were trying desperately to cut the neural connection, but the humans were somehow maintaining it through pure will. Overseer, reported Tactical Coordinator Zulmek, the human ship is powering up weapon systems we've never seen before. Their energy readings are beyond our understanding. Kithvar looked at the tactical display and felt something his species had not experienced in thousands of years. Fear. The humans were not just defending themselves. They were preparing for war. All ships prepare for immediate withdrawal, he ordered. We must report this to the High Council. But as he gave the order, he felt something impossible. A human voice speaking directly into his mind, bypassing all their communication systems. You're not going anywhere, said Captain Kim's voice. You wanted to probe human nature? Now you're going to learn what humans do to genocidal monsters. The neural connection worked both ways, and the humans had learned to use it as a weapon. Through the probe link, they were now inside Velthari mines. And they were not happy with what they found there. The battle for the future of the galaxy was about to begin, and the aliens had just discovered they were no longer the hunters. They had become the prey. The Indomitable moved like a living creature, as Chief Engineer So-Young Park synchronized every system on the ship with her enhanced consciousness. What had once been a powerful but predictable battleship was now something unprecedented. A fusion of human determination and alien technology that neither species had imagined possible. Captain, So-Young reported through their mental link. I've integrated their probe technology with our own systems. We're not just connected to each other anymore. We're connected to their entire network. Captain Hyunwoo Kim felt the flow of information as his crew tapped into the Velthari communication grid. Through the neural link, he could see their fleet positions, their command structure, their strategic plans. But more importantly, he could see the locations of their prison ships and research facilities scattered across dozens of star systems. Jinny, he said to Communications Officer Choi, show me what you're seeing. Jinny's eyes were glowing brighter now as she processed vast amounts of alien data. Captain, it's worse than we thought. The Velthari have been operating for over 3,000 years. They've cataloged and destroyed 847 different species. Their current operations include 234 active research facilities and 156 prison ships holding survivors from conquered worlds. The knowledge hit every human on the ship simultaneously through their shared consciousness. 12,000 enhanced minds processed the scope of the Velthari crimes, and their collective response was immediate and terrible. Tactical Officer Dongmin Lee's station erupted with new targeting data as he interfaced directly with the ship's weapon systems. Captain, I can see everything. Their shield frequencies, their reactor signatures, their weapon cooldown cycles. They're not just vulnerable, they're completely exposed. On the alien command ship, Overseer Kithvar was experiencing his first taste of true panic. His probe specialists were reporting that the neural link was completely out of their control. The humans are inside our systems, probe leader Vexon reported, her voice shaking. They're downloading our entire database. Fleet positions, research data, everything. Cut all power to the probe systems, Kithvar ordered. I've tried, Overseer. The humans are somehow maintaining the connection without our technology. They've learned to generate the neural link independently. It was true. The enhanced humans had not just learned to use Velthari technology, they had improved it. Navigation Officer Hyren Song was demonstrating this as she plotted courses to every Velthari facility in the sector. Captain, I can see their entire operation. Prison ships disguised as research vessels, hidden bases in asteroid fields, slave colonies on dead worlds. They've built an empire on suffering, and they've hidden it well. Security Chief Jae-hyun-oh was coordinating with his teams throughout the ship, but their enhanced abilities were making traditional security procedures obsolete. His officers could now sense threats through solid metal, react faster than human reflexes should allow, and coordinate their actions through pure thought. Captain, request permission to prepare boarding teams. If we're going to gather intelligence from their ships, we'll need to take them intact. Granted, Kim replied. But remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves now. Every minute we delay, more innocent beings suffer in their facilities. Dr. Woo Jin Han was analyzing the biological data streaming through the neural link. What he found made his enhanced mind burn with anger. Captain, they don't just kill their victims quickly. The Velthari conduct experiments that can last for decades. They've perfected techniques for keeping other species alive and conscious during procedures that should be fatal. Sir, some of their current prisoners have been tortured for over 50 years. The collective rage of 12,000 humans reached a new level, but this was not the blind fury of primitive beings. This was the calculated anger of enhanced minds with the power to act on their convictions. Chief Engineer So-Young Park made the first move. Through her connection to the ship's systems, she overcharged the main reactor to levels that would have been catastrophic under normal conditions. But the enhanced crew could now manage power flows that human technology had never been designed to handle. Reactor output at 400% of normal capacity, she reported. All weapon systems are now operating at theoretical maximum. Captain, we can punch through their shields like they're made of paper. Tactical Officer Dongmin Lee was already preparing the attack. Through his neural interface with the weapon systems, he could target multiple ships simultaneously with precision that no computer could match. 20 alien vessels in range, he reported. I can disable their engines without destroying them, or I can turn them into debris fields. Your choice, Captain. Kim felt the weight of command in a way he never had before. Through the mental link, he could sense the alien minds on those ships. Many were soldiers and scientists complicit in genocide, but others might be conscripts or support staff who had never directly participated in the atrocities. Disable their engines and weapon systems, he ordered. We'll give them one chance to surrender before we escalate. But even as he spoke, Kim knew the Velthari would not surrender. Through the neural probe connection, he could sense Overseer Kithvar's thoughts. The alien commander was already planning to sacrifice his fleet to prevent human knowledge of Velthari operations from spreading. The first salvo from the Indomitable was like nothing ever seen in galactic warfare. Quantum torpedoes, fired with enhanced human precision and modified by So Young's engineering genius, struck 12 alien ships simultaneously. The weapons phased through their shields at exactly the right frequency and struck their engine systems with surgical precision. 12 Velthari ships went dead in space in less than 3 seconds. Impossible, whispered probe leader Vexon as she watched her fleet's tactical display. No species has that level of precision. They hit us through our shields as if the barriers weren't even there. On the Indomitable, Communications Officer Jin A was intercepting the aliens' panicked communications. Through the neural link, she shared their conversations with the entire crew. They're calling for reinforcements, she reported. But Captain, they're also sending out warnings about us. They're telling their high command that humanity is too dangerous to be allowed to exist. Security Chief Jae-hyun felt his enhanced reflexes surge with anticipation. Captain, they're planning to call in their entire sector fleet. Hundreds of ships. Good, Kim replied, surprising his crew with the calm determination in his voice. Let them come. The more of them we face here, the fewer will be available to guard their prison camps. Dr. Han was monitoring the disabled alien ships through their medical sensors. Captain, I'm reading life signs on all the disabled vessels. If we're going to interrogate prisoners, now would be the time to take them. Jae-hyun, prepare boarding teams. But remember, we're not like them. We take prisoners, we don't torture them. We're here to stop genocide, not commit it. The boarding operation demonstrated just how much the humans had changed. Security officers moved through alien ship corridors with impossible speed and precision. They could sense enemy positions through solid walls and coordinate their actions without speaking a word. On the lead alien vessel, Overseer Kithvar found himself face-to-face with Security Chief Jae-hyun. The human moved like a predator, but his eyes held something the Velthari commander had never seen in a warrior: moral purpose. Surrender your command codes, Jae-hyun said, his enhanced voice carrying a weight that made the alien's bones vibrate. We know about your prison ships, your research facilities, your genocide projects. This ends now. Kithvar tried to resist, but the neural link that still connected him to the humans made deception impossible. He could feel their enhanced minds probing his thoughts, extracting information despite his efforts to block them. You don't understand, he said desperately. The Velthari collective is vast. We have thousands of ships, millions of soldiers. You cannot stand against us. Watch us, Jae-hyun replied. Back on the Indomitable, the crew was processing the intelligence gathered from the captured alien commanders. Chief Engineer So Young had accessed their navigation systems and now possessed the locations of every Velthari facility in 3 sectors. Captain, she reported, we have everything. Prison ship routes, research facility locations, communication frequencies, defensive plans. We know where they are, how many ships they have, and when their shift changes happen. Navigation Officer Hayron was already plotting courses to the nearest prison facilities. Sir, there's a research station 12 light-years from here. According to their records, it holds over 10,000 prisoners from 15 different species. They're scheduled for final processing in 6 days. Captain Kim felt the collective determination of his crew through their mental link. They all understood what final processing meant in Velthari terminology. Set course for the research station, he ordered. Maximum speed. Captain, Tactical Officer Dong Min interjected. The station is defended by a battle group of 40 ships. Kim smiled with grim satisfaction. Then it's a fair fight. Dr. Han was studying the biological data they had extracted from the alien computers. Captain, I found something important. The Velthari have been using a specific neural frequency to control the prisoners. The research station appeared on the Indomitable's sensors like a metallic cancer, growing in the darkness of space. It was massive, easily 10 times the size of the human battleship, with dozens of smaller facilities connected by transport tubes. Through the neural link they had maintained with captured Velthari systems, the crew could see everything: the prison blocks, the experimental laboratories, the execution chambers. Captain Hyunwoo Kim stood on the bridge, feeling the collective anger of his enhanced crew burning through their shared consciousness.
10,000 innocent beings were being tortured in that station.
And 40 Velthari warships stood guard around it. Tactical analysis. Dongmin, Kim ordered. Tactical Officer Dongmin Lee's enhanced mind processed the enemy formation in seconds. 40 ships in defensive positions around the station. They formed overlapping shield networks and crossfire patterns. Standard military doctrine would call for a fleet of at least 60 ships to assault this position. Good thing we're not standard military, Kim replied. So Young, how's our reactor holding up? Chief Engineer So Young Park was one with the ship's systems now, feeling every power fluctuation like her own heartbeat. Reactor stable at 500% normal output. The alien technology we've integrated is allowing us to channel energy in ways our original designers never imagined. Captain, I can overload specific systems to create power spikes that will punch through their entire defensive grid. Through the mental link, Kim could feel his crew's readiness. They were no longer just 12,000 humans. They were something new, something the galaxy had never seen. They had become a collective consciousness dedicated to justice, backed by technology they understood better than its creators. Communications, Jin-A, send them our message. Communications Officer Jin-A Choi opened channels to every ship in the Velthari defensive fleet. Her enhanced abilities allowed her to broadcast directly into their neural communication systems. Velthari forces, she transmitted. This is the Terran Federation battleship Indomitable. You are guilty of genocide, slavery, and crimes against every civilized species in the galaxy. Release all prisoners immediately and surrender your vessels, or face the consequences. The response came from Station Commander Yulthek, a Velthari military leader who had overseen the destruction of 16 different civilizations. Primitive humans, his voice crackled through the comm system. You face the might of the Velthari collective. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. Captain Kim smiled grimly. I was hoping he'd say that. All crews, begin liberation protocol. What happened next would be talked about in alien military academies for generations. The Indomitable didn't charge the enemy fleet or attempt to break through their lines. Instead, it simply stopped dead in space and began to change. Chief Engineer So Young Park had been working on modifications to the ship's systems ever since they had captured the alien technology. Now she implemented them all at once. The Indomitable's shields expanded outward, growing from a defensive barrier around the ship into a massive energy net that reached toward the enemy fleet. But these weren't normal shields. So Young had reversed their polarity and turned them into weapons. Shield modification complete, she reported. The defensive grid is now a disruptor field. Any ship that enters it will have its systems shut down permanently. Navigation Officer Hai-Rin Song was calculating impossible trajectories, plotting courses that used gravity wells and quantum fluctuations to move the ship in ways that defied normal physics. Navigation ready, Captain. I can put us anywhere in this system instantaneously. Security Chief Jae-hyun. Oh, and his teams were preparing for the largest boarding operation in human history. Security teams ready for simultaneous assault on all 40 ships. We'll disable their crews and take control of their vessels. Dr. Woo Jin Han had been working on the neural frequency weapon he had developed from studying Velthari prisoner control systems. Medical protocol ready, Captain. Once I activate the liberation frequency, every imprisoned mind in their network will be freed from their control systems. Kim felt his crew's determination through their mental link. They weren't just planning to defeat the Velthari fleet, they were planning to liberate every prisoner in the sector. Simultaneously, execute liberation protocol, he ordered. The Indomitable vanished from its position and reappeared in the center of the Velthari defensive formation. The enhanced human crew had learned to use alien teleportation technology with an understanding that surpassed its creators. Before the enemy ships could react, So Young's modified shields expanded outward like an expanding sphere of energy. Every Velthari vessel that the field touched simply stopped working. Their weapons powered down, their engines went dead, their life support systems switched to emergency mode. All enemy ships disabled, Dongmin reported. Their crews are alive but helpless. At the same moment, Dr. Han activated his neural liberation frequency. The signal spread through the Velthari communication network like wildfire, reaching every prison facility, every research station, every slave camp in the sector. On the research station, 10,000 prisoners from 15 different species suddenly felt their minds clear for the first time in years. The neural control implants that had kept them docile and compliant simply stopped working. Throughout Velthari space, the same thing was happening. Millions of enslaved beings suddenly remembered who they were and realized they were free. Liberation frequency successful, Han reported. All prisoners in the sector are now free of Velthari mental control. Security Chief Jae Hyun was coordinating boarding operations on all 40 disabled ships simultaneously. His enhanced teams moved through enemy vessels like ghosts, disabling crew members without killing them. They were no longer just human soldiers, they were agents of justice with abilities that bordered on supernatural. All ships secured, he reported. Enemy crews are in custody. No casualties on our side, but the real work was just beginning. Captain Kim opened communication channels to every freed prisoner in the sector. "This is Captain Hyun-woo Kim of the Terran Federation Battleship Indomitable," he transmitted. "You are free. We are humans, and we have come to put an end to Velthari oppression. Prepare for immediate evacuation from all prison facilities." The response was overwhelming. Voices in dozens of languages, representing species from across the galaxy, filled the communication channels with expressions of gratitude, disbelief, and desperate hope. Chief Engineer So Young was already modifying the captured Velthari ships for rescue operations. Her enhanced understanding of alien technology allowed her to convert prison ships into evacuation vessels in a matter of hours. "Captain, I can retrofit these ships to carry the freed prisoners to safety, but we need to move fast. Their main fleet will be here soon." "How soon?" Kim asked. Communications Officer Jin-A was monitoring long-range transmissions. 800 ships arriving in approximately 6 hours. They're bringing everything. Battle cruisers, dreadnoughts, planet killers. They plan to destroy this entire system to prevent word of what happened here from spreading. Navigation Officer Hay-Rin was already plotting escape routes. "Captain, I can calculate jumps that will take the evacuation fleet to safe systems outside Velthari space. But the Indomitable will need to delay their fleet to give the prisoners time to escape." Kim felt his crew's acceptance through their mental link. They all understood what this meant. 1 ship against 800 was impossible odds even for enhanced humans. "Negative," he said firmly. "We're not sacrificing ourselves today. We have too much work to do." Dr. Han looked up from his medical station. "Captain, I've been analyzing the data we extracted from their systems. The Velthari have been conducting their genocide operations for 3,000 years, but they've also been weakening themselves. Their empire is stretched thin, held together only by fear and neural control technology." "What are you suggesting, Doctor?" "I'm suggesting we do what we just did here, but on a galactic scale. We free every enslaved mind in their empire simultaneously. Without their control technology, the Velthari collective will collapse from within." Tactical Officer Dongmin was studying the strategic implications. "It would work, Captain. Their entire empire depends on enslaved species to function. If we free all the prisoners at once, they'll face rebellions on thousands of worlds." Chief Engineer So Young was already working on the technical requirements. "I can modify our neural liberation frequency to propagate through their entire communication network. Every prison, every slave colony, every research facility in their empire would receive the signal simultaneously." Security Chief Jae Hyun was coordinating with the freed prisoners who had military experience. "Captain, representatives from the liberated species want to join our fight. They have knowledge of Velthari operations that could be invaluable. Kim felt the weight of decision through his enhanced consciousness. They had come to rescue one group of prisoners and had discovered an opportunity to liberate an entire galaxy. Jin A. Transmit our liberation frequency modification to every ship in our rescue fleet. When the Velthari arrive, we'll give them a choice: surrender and face justice or watch their empire collapse in real time. The next 6 hours were a race against time.